Hey, what's cracking everyone? Today I'm going to be dropping CanJam video number 7 for this channel because it is my 7th CanJam that I have visited all the way back, dating back to 2022 in Chicago, back when we had CanJam in Chicago, but I understand why we're not going back there anymore. Still miss those days. And this is my 3rd SoCal CanJam that I visited, but I want to set this up ahead of time. And I'm going to disappoint you a little bit and tell you that I don't have a ton of listening impressions, even though I visited both days, even though I got in Friday night. The biggest reason why are because of my kids. And I love my kids, don't get me wrong, but they were sick a couple of weeks out before CanJam. They had colds, the runny nose, sniffling, all that fun stuff. And Dad was avoiding it like the plague and, taking my vitamins and all that kind of stuff. And I thought I was good. And I got to bed Thursday night before CanJam, or Thursday night before flying out to CanJam, and I started feeling a little bit And I woke up Friday and I was like, oh, I had a cold, my head was stuffy, I had to get on a plane, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this thing, I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna take lots of vitamins, gonna take some echinacea or whatever the heck I had, and get to CanJam and be good. Got off the plane that Friday evening in SoCal. My ears hadn't popped, you chew the gum and the gum wasn't working, like nothing was working. I couldn't hear out of my left ear. That's great. These are the instruments after all for listening impressions, and one of them was broken. So it couldn't hear anything out of here. I actually got off the plane and somebody from the channel, a member of the channel, a really nice kid, and I'm terrible with names, so please correct me if you're watching this video, but I got a chance to talk to him right after I got off the plane and got my luggage. He's like, hey, Skeeb, what are you doing here? Joke. And yeah, I was here for CanJam, but I was more like, hey, Skeeb, huh? I was like, no, I'm not being a jerk. I literally can't hear out of my left ear. It was so annoying. So I got to the hotel, I checked in, put my stuff in my room, went down. I actually bumped into Warren. Warren Chi, does such a phenomenal job with CanJam, and I talked to him for a couple of minutes, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling that well. And it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, oh, okay. No, I didn't shake any hands. I was doing the elbow bump the whole weekend with everybody. And that's what I did with Warren. I was like, here, I'm gonna do the elbow bump, not getting anybody sick, and kept my distance. But I ended up going back to the room, calling it an early night, hoping to get a lot of rest, get my ear to pop, and wake up Saturday morning so I'd be good to go for listening. And that just didn't happen. My ear did pop and still was kind of fuzzy a little bit, but I didn't feel the greatest when I woke up Saturday morning. I was still foggy in the head to where I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna really get a good listening impression on quite anything today. So I'm just gonna take this in as a, let's get lots of photos, let's get a lot of videos, let's meet a lot of friends, which I did. And I always enjoy talking to my friends at CanJam, and that's kind of the way I treated day 1, but it basically made me lose an entire day of listening impressions. And then I find out afterwards that everybody was sick at CanJam. So it is what it is. But I didn't want to put headphones on my head feeling that way. And as I'm going around like meeting people, everybody's always like, oh man, how's it going? Or, oh man, how's it going? Or, oh man, how's it going? And I'm like, hey, it's good. And they're kind of like, well, what you doing? I was like, I'm not feeling well. They're like, oh man, that sucks. Like, yeah, dude, I understand. Yeah. It's like, I get it. So that was my day 1 experience. And I also want to share a very cool moment for me that, lasted through the whole weekend. And that was getting to meet somebody that I have been talking with quite a bit from afar, another content creator. His name is Matt Marsland. Guys, he has the channel Marslander, and such a good dude. And him and I hung out quite a bit over the weekend. In fact, we had dinner both nights. First night was with a group of people. Second night, we actually just went on our own. Got to talk a lot about audio, but just about life and things in general. And to Marslander, to Matt, thank you so much for hanging out, man. That was really cool. And of course, we stay talking pretty often about lots and lots of things. And hopefully we'll be doing some kind of a stream or collaboration here very soon, because I think that'd be pretty dope. So now, 2 things I did on the first day was I did get some listening time with one headphone, and I did pick up another headphone that I had ordered ahead of time, and I gotta share this one with you guys. So for those of you that know Nick from Hi-Fi for All or know the company Hi-Fi for All, the Dahlia is one of my favorite headphones, and I know a lot of people love the Dahlia, those that have experienced it. it's built well, and it sounds incredible. And I actually bought one from Nick before the show, and I got a custom-made Dahlia that I want to show you guys right now. So hopefully this isn't too hard to see. I'm trying to block my face so the camera picks it up, but this has a beautiful green metallic type grille on it that looks absolutely incredible. And Nick, thank you once again. This is such a fantastic headphone and looks so very cool. Also a little bit of a sneak preview or spoiler. Tyler and I of Tyler's Eclectic, we're gonna be doing a live here very soon on his channel talking about our Dahlias that we both own, because we both agree it's a fantastic headphone. That was the first thing. The second thing that I actually did on the first day was I got a chance to sit down with ETA. Now, Tom of ETA, I talked to him quite a bit too, but if you guys have watched in the past, I have done a video on an ETA headphone before, and that was on the O2, which in my opinion is like a super duper souped up COS Porta Pro that has all the resolution and all the audiophile sound quality in an incredible package of a headphone. Well, they made the O2, and he has a new headphone coming out called the Uli, U-L-I. And my God, is that a fantastic headphone. Now, it is on the big side, I will warn you. So I've got a video of Tyler wearing it and listening to it and digging on it on day one of CanJam. And I actually was able to listen to it myself on day one. And I warned Tom ahead of time. He knew I wasn't feeling the greatest. He knew that my, thoughts might be a little bit foggy, but I can tell you a couple of major things about the Uli. One is the HD800S lovers out there, I think would love the Uli, because not only does it have that super big resolution and staging to it, but it's got some slam and kick and bass to it as well. It's got excellent low end, and I could even hear that through the muddy fogginess of my head cold that I had going on. And I told Tom I can't wait to get it in house and to do a video, and I will be doing that sometime on this channel, hopefully soon, guys, and I cannot wait. And it's got purple pads, and the build of it is dialed in. I mean, I am so excited to check this headphone out. Please do check out ETA and show them some love. They are a fantastic boutique headphone company that are doing a lot of great things for the hobby. I do want to also give a big thank you to Abyss and Woo Audio, because I was able to hang out with those guys on day one with Marslander, and we all went out to dinner, went to Mexican. Zeos was with us as well. It was really cool to hang out with those guys and a few others from the community and just chill and have a good time. And I don't think we talked audio hardly at all. It was like not talking about shop because you're outside of the shop type deal. Thank you to that, because I did have a lot of fun doing that. Even though I wasn't feeling the greatest, I was starting to feel better Saturday night to say that I knew Sunday I was gonna be good to go, and I was. Or at least for the most part, I was. Enough to where I felt confident that I could get some listening impressions. So day two, grabbed some coffee at Moon Goat Coffee, which is excellent out there in SoCal. Got to the show, got to the big line, and thankfully I already had my tag and everything, so I went right into the showroom floor and I went right up to Schitty Audio, because I had checked out the Valhalla 3 at the previous CanJam in New York, and I wanted to sit down and listen to it some more, but I got a little surprise while I was there, and Schitty had their new Jotunheim 3. Yes, Jotunheim 3, the Jot 3 was sitting there, and I was like, where did this come from? And it's not actually out yet, but they had a preview there, and they had one there so everybody could sit down and get a listen. They had a tungsten paired up to it, and I said, oh, I gotta check this out. So I sat down with the Jotunheim 3, sat down with the tungsten, I had it on high gain, maxed out volume, and I got a pretty good listen out of it. And I remember the Jotunheim 2 was one that I said, yeah, you probably wouldn't quite get tungsten levels out of it. And so Jotunheim 3, I think it's 6 watts max. It was there, but they had the tungsten V2 there as well. And so I switched them out and I plugged in the V2, and I am happy to report, again on high gain, that I was able to listen to the V2 and not have to max out the volume. I would say it's about 20% better as far as, if you're on 80%, it'd be 60. You get what I'm saying. It's 20% easier to drive. Let's put it that way from a volume standpoint, V2 to V1. And I was super excited, and I got an incredible listen out of the V2. Everything I remembered about the tungsten was there. So if you're interested in Schitty products, the Jotunheim 3 is definitely one I would recommend checking out. I think we can thank tungsten for that, by the way, for all these amps that are suddenly launching with lots more power. From there, I also listened to the Yigi and the Molnar 3 with a Verite closed. It was a very mid-centric, excellent resolution sound, very holographic, a lot of slap, a lot of slam, and that was a wonderful pairing. And I got a chance to talk to Jason Stoddard a little bit, Denise from Schitty, you know, kind of connect faces through emails that I've done in the past. And I still hope to get a Valhalla 3 in sometime here soon to do a full video on, because honestly, I'm interested in purchasing the Valhalla 3 because I would like a proper OTL. And I've done an impression of the Valhalla 3 on a previous video. I just didn't listen to it this time just because I got so consumed with the Jotunheim 3. Man, that was cool. And you'll see some pictures and things there. It is a dope looking amp, I gotta say, from Schitty. All right, from there, I went to the Hifiman booth, and I'll say this, and I think I've said this before, I really wish Hifiman could somehow get themselves a room. Like, go get a room, you two. But seriously, Hifiman headphones are so open as far as open backs go, and leak and bleed sounds so much that it's really hard to get a good impression of Hifiman, because they're also a very popular place to visit. And that was no different here. The Hifiman headphones I wanted to check out was the HE600 and the new Edition XV. I also wanted to check out the Ananda Unveiled, but I didn't get a chance for that one. It was just too busy and I wanted to move on to other things. Here's what I can tell you about the HE600, and this was on the Golden Weave, by the way. It was a bit pushed back from a vocalist standpoint, had a smooth top end, good attack and physicality to it, resolution, good. I thought I heard maybe somewhere around a 2 to 3K peak, not quite sure. Subtle lows, wasn't boomy, decent speed, good separation. So overall, the HE600 I thought was a pretty decent impression, I gotta say, for that headphone. The Edition XV was on an EF600 DAC amp from Hifiman. Good low response, but it was a bit veiled. Not as clear, good space, vocals not as front and forward, a bit blended, and not as separated. And that was just with a few tracks sampled, to where the Edition XV didn't quite do it for me, but that was on showroom floor. Again, guys, very open back, so really hard for me to say that was, you know, a definite example, but between the two, I preferred the HE600 by far. Okay, next up, I stopped at Campfire Audio's booth because I wanted to check out the Andromeda 10, and I also wanted to check out the Grand Luna. Now, I had my DC Elite that I always take with me to shows now, because I just think it's an excellent pairing with pretty much any type of IEM, so that's what I paired it up with. The Andromeda 10, here's what I will say about that. Definitely darker in the treble, but it had excellent detailing still. So they still remained, even though it had a little bit of a darker treble curve to it. Excellent resolution, good 1 to 3K in the mid-range. Mid-range timbre was beautiful, beautiful saxophone. I remember listening to a few tracks that were focused with saxophone instruments. Vocals were more in it, maybe a touch pushed back. Bass response, excellent. The Andromeda 10 I was very impressed with, and is one that, you know, I would like to get some more time with, other than the Grand Luna. Now the Grand Luna, again with the DC Elite, was too dark. I mean, seriously, the Andromeda 10 was a little bit darker in the treble, but this was too dark, to where I just wanted more airiness from it. That, for my personal preferences at least, that's what I wanted. Had excellent bass response, excellent control. Very tame top end, of course, because it was on the darker side. Excellent rumble, crispy details that did peek through. So those moments when they were kind of popping through, perhaps needs a brighter DAC, because that's the other thing too. The DC Elite does do a nice job of kind of tapering off that treble peakiness at times. So perhaps it just is that the Grand Luna needed something a little bit more bright. Maybe like the RU7 that I have would have been something interesting with the Grand Luna, but between the two, Andromeda 10 was definitely the one I wanted to spend more time with. And then from there, I also picked up their new accessory that I just did a video, I'm gonna link that here, of the Relay DAC amp from Campfire Audio, which I think is an excellent dongle DAC, by the way. And they have an accessory for that or other dongles. It's a mag wallet type accessory. You guys can check that out, check that video out when you get a chance to. From there, I went and visited Flipears, and Ari Sala is always a nice guy to visit and always enjoy talking to him. By the way, Chris and the Campfire team, thank you so much. Always a pleasure talking to you guys as well. And so when I went to Flipears, he had a new IEM that he was showcasing that's not out yet. It's called the Arion. Hopefully I'm saying that right. But he had two different versions that he was letting people listen to. There was a silver version and a gold version, lack of a better term. And he was kind of getting feedback of what everybody preferred. For me, I preferred gold. I think he actually said a lot of people were leaning towards the gold version of it. Excellent, excellent, excellent dynamic impact. Drums, I wrote down, I underlined, and I put 2 exclamation points if that tells you anything. Clarity, presence, very mid-centric. Mid-bass impact was also very good. Good amount of low end and weight. Good feeling, good reverberation, bit less presence, easy on the ears, but detailed. But I gotta say, like I said, the gold version is what I preferred most of the two, and I am really looking forward to hopefully getting that in at some point to check out. As I was told, I'm on the list, so that would be fantastic because Allegiant is still one of my all-time favorite IEMs that I've heard. And so that was my impressions, really quick of Flipears at CanJam, and so nice to talk to you guys once again. All right, so next up, I went upstairs to level 2 to the Apos room. Now, Apos Audio had their own dedicated room with a lot of different collaborations in there of different companies to check out. And the first thing I wanted to check out was an IEM that was gaining some buzz in the show, and that was called the Lobster IEM. A very cool looking IEM. It's all red, literally looks like something like a lobster would. All the branding, all of it was like that. The little guitar picks they let us take home were like that. It had excellent sub bass. Mids were strong. Upper mids were actually a bit back, had decent pop. Cymbals weren't quite as splashy. Excellent impact of kick drums. And I put these kick underlined, exclamation point. Vocals are a bit back as well. And it kind of makes sense because Lobster is for rock music. So you don't want it to be so aggressive that everything's being thrown at you, because then that wouldn't have been enjoyable. So it was good blend and mixture. And I think they've got a cool thing going with that, because they also had another IEM they were letting people listen to, but they don't have really anything out on it yet. They didn't have the finished shell or anything. That is going to be catered more towards jazz listeners, I believe. Music genres like that. So it's kind of a cool way of looking at it to make IEM specifically catered for different genres of music, just like calling the Lobster like they did. So, I don't know, I thought that was a pretty cool collaboration, and one that was definitely fun to check out. Pleasure talking to you guys there as well. And then from there, in that room, they had the K1000, which is kind of an homage to the original K1000. And listening to that, it's kind of the headphone that sits out here. Kind of reminds you like a Roll or something like that, and has air in between your ears. And just the resolution and openness of that wasn't too bright, but the bass response it was like having speakers right here. It was incredible. It was actually one of my highlights of the show, even though it's not anything you would expect. It just blew me away that much that it was so much fun to listen to. So definitely wrote that one down. And then while I was in there, I got a chance to sit down with the SJY Horizon closed carbon headphone. And I gotta say, clean low end, good mids. It was smooth. It wasn't scooped because it's closed, wasn't scooped out, good presence, very open sounding as well. It's kind of a theme I'm seeing with a lot of these newer closed backs, that they're really trying to get that open sound, which I love that. Just a very good impression. The only thing I would say on build was it was a little bit heavy for my taste, but not so heavy that it was uncomfortable and unbearable. All right, so from there, I did stop into the ZMF room. Now, I had stopped in the first day, of course, to talk to Zach and Bevan and the whole ZMF team, like I always like to, but I wanted to sit down with something in the ZMF room, even though, I've got the Ori 3.0 here that I'm still working on. I've got Caldera closed here that I'm comparing to. So I've got my hands on lots of ZMFs in-house here, but that didn't take away from the fact that I wanted to check out what other amps they have. They always have something up their sleeve with amps, and they did this year. They had the brand new Cayin HA6A Mark II. It was the only one in the US, and they had it at SoCal CanJam. And so I got a chance to sit down and listen to that. And to no surprise, it was incredible. I listened to it with the Caldera open, and all I wrote down was effortless. It just controlled the Caldera effortlessly, completely, and was An incredible listen. Smooth, excellent complement, not extra weighty, very mid-centric, kind of like Cayin amps tend to be. And it had this switch that was a TR or UL switch, and I wrote down, or I forgot to write down what exactly those switches mean. It has something to do with the tubes. And I can tell you that I preferred UL because I wrote down more clarity is what I got out of that synergetic experience from that amp. But I could not believe also that the HA6A Mark II is gonna be less than 3,000 bucks. At least I believe that's what I was told, is around that $2,500 range. And I was like, oh, please, you shouldn't have told me that. I love my HA3A, don't get me wrong. But the 6A, oh, yeah, that was a beauty of an amp. It's one I hope to check out here in more detail at some time down the road, because I was completely blown away by it, and a nice pleasant surprise. And as always, guys, it was such a nice time getting to see ZMF and talk with the entire team. Such an accommodating team to speak to, such a fun room to be in, and I got lots and lots of pictures. I grabbed some stickers and just had a lot of fun in that room, as I always do. Okay, so after ZMF, I was kind of walking around the showroom floor, and somebody told me I needed to check out some of the new headphones from Yamaha. And I was like, well, the YH5000 and me didn't really get along very well, but hey, what the hell? Let's check them out. So I went there. First of all, I gotta say one thing about Yamaha headphones. They're incredible looking. The build, the aesthetics speaks to me, truly does. And I think it's solid quality from that standpoint. It's the sound that doesn't quite match that for me always. And so I was hoping that it would be different this time. So I sat down and I put their new closeback, the YH3000, on my head, and it was nice and lightweight, beautiful build, looked like two bowling balls or something, just like sat it on my head and turned it on, listened, and I was not impressed. So what I wrote down, big boom, first of all. A lot of bass response, that's awesome. But crispy, not bright, great. Plasticky highs is actually something I wrote down. Impactful, a bit V-shaped, a bit too sharp in the highs at time, and very strident. And I know I said not bright and then I said too sharp. It's kind of two separate things there. I just didn't like it. And again, showroom floor, busy area. So, you know, that's just a first impression on the showroom floor, but I didn't like it. And especially didn't like it when I heard that it's gonna be above 1,500 bucks. Now, if they would have told me under 1,000, yeah, I might have a little bit different of opinion, but for that price point, I've heard a lot of closebacks above 1,000 that I appreciate it more than that. So then I listened to the YH4000 on their HAL7A amp that they have from Yamaha, which is also a very cool amp. Had good pop to them. Grip on strings was definitely noticed. Laid back mids, so to speak, good low end mids, punchiness. It reminded me of the YH5000, but had a little bit of what I was looking for from the 5000 that I didn't get. So I do think the 4000 was a better listen than the 5000 for me, again, on the showroom floor. But I gotta say, once again, I hate to go back to price. I still think, I don't know exactly. I think it's above 2,000, maybe $3,000 for the YH4000, and that's just so high. I don't know. And again, you know, maybe I'll get a chance sometime to get it in-house and listen to some more and get a better impression. But like I said, Yamaha, great build, great aesthetics. Sound it's just the sound preference, I guess, myself doesn't line up with it. I don't quite know. But anyway, that was Yamaha. So from there, I actually sat down and listened to the new final DX3000 on the SMSL D400. Hopefully I wrote that right. And I was told to check this one out because it's a new closeback from Final Audio that isn't over $1,000. I think it's gonna run between $500 to $800, somewhere in there. It had incredible low-end thump, good pop, clarity and details. It was snappy, a bit slower is what I wrote down from that standpoint. Good timbre, easy to listen to. Mids, a tad of wonkiness that I couldn't quite pick up, but excellent isolation. And guitars have good grip and pretty intimate, not a big stage, but I was impressed. I actually came away from it saying, all right, I actually dig this Final headphone, and it's one of the first Final headphones that I've listened to that I've enjoyed. And so it's on my list. I would love to check that one out in more detail at some point down the road because, you know, especially for being something in the price range that it was, I'm definitely interested. All right, from there, I actually got a recommendation from my friends at the Bay Area Enclave. Shout out to you guys. And I was told by Vince to go check out the new Noah from Hercules Audio. Now, I remember a previous CanJam, I listened to the Moses and I was like, wow, this thing is incredible. So I was looking forward to listening to the Noah, and especially after I found out the price. So what I can tell you about the Noah, it was very open and airy sounding, first of all. Beautiful vocals, big boominess, but it was very controlled in the bass response. A bit aggressive on the upper, mid, lower treble range. I like that, but could be a little bit for some others. Not very intimate again. And again, I wrote down open sound because that is something that, you know, was impressive to me about it for an IEM. But I believe this is going to come in around the $300 range, if I'm correct. And that alone was something that blew me away. I was like, if this ends up being around that price range, they are going to have a very strong competitor for an IEM. And it gets you a segue into the Hercules Audio sound because Moses was pretty expensive. The Noah is going to come in at a nice entry-level price. So it's one I definitely want to check out at some time here in the future. And then kind of rounding out my day was ending with Fosi Audio, and there was a reason for that. Fosi Audio actually has a new IEM called the IM4. I just did a short on that, and I'm gonna have a full video out on that here in the next week. And it's a new dynamic driver IEM, single dynamic driver IEM that's gonna be about $100, and I think it's an incredible sounding IEM. Now, I hadn't heard it when they handed it over to me at CanJam, but they said, here, take this home with you, listen to it, give us some feedback on it, and my feedback has been very positive for the IM4. I also wanted to listen to the i5 with the updated modification that they put for that headphone, and I listened on the K7 gaming amp, which I have that K7 DAC amp in right now that I'll be doing a video on, also from Fosi Audio. And I gotta tell you guys that the i5 with the modification definitely sounded better with that bass response than what I remember from the original i5. But I'm not so sure about the rest of the sound signature, what could have been suffered, because I didn't have time to compare both versions. All I can tell you is that I liked what I heard once again of the i5, but that kind of rounded out my full listening impressions. So like I said, guys, not a ton of listening impressions. I apologize, you know, please don't drop in the comments asking me all different kinds of things about different IEMs and headphones, because I just didn't get the chance to listen to near as much as what I wanted to, but I still had a really good time connecting with friends again and seeing so many people passionate in this hobby. And I gotta tell you, like, this was one of the chillest SoCals that I've been to, not because it wasn't busy, but it was much more spread out. Headphones.com wasn't there, Focal wasn't there. They usually kind of take a front center stage, you know, standpoint at the show, and they attract a ton of attention. I think because they weren't there, it let everybody kind of spread out. And I remember Marslander was talking about this with me, and I agree with him that I think it wasn't that it was not as busy, it was just more spread out. And so there were some areas that you could enjoy yourself a little bit more, I gotta say, than others. And some places were just packed. Like DeConey had their own room. That place was packed all the time. Bloom Audio always has their own room. They were completely packed every time I walked by. So there was definitely some places that still had that going for them. You know, Woo Audio and Abyss had their thing going on. I stopped in there, talked to those guys, you know, sat down with the Joel again. But again, it's one that I've listened to and done a video on already. But I did get a chance to visit a lot of the rooms and visit a lot of the people. I just didn't necessarily get impressions because either I've heard it before, done a video on it before, or it was on day one and I just wasn't feeling well. So that's gonna wrap up my video, guys. Once again, I wanna say thank you to the whole HeadFi team for an incredible CanJam. I highly recommend anybody that's in this hobby to visit a CanJam, because you are gonna be able to check out some gear. Man, you're gonna be able to check out some gear and meet a lot of people that are gonna share your same passions, have some debates. That's what we like to do, right? And enjoy some time with some audio. So with that, guys, I would like to thank all of you for watching this video, and hopefully next CanJam, I will get back to my thing, doing my thing and listening to some things. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.